Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back. I don't know whether my audio is okay. So now, so this session is very interesting. For this particular session, we'll need you all to have your headphones on. Everyone, wear the headphones. Yeah, you hear me there. So you'll realize that all of you that have your headphones on can hear me. Yeah? Good. If you don't have your headphones, you can't hear me. Yeah. Yeah, please just, do you want to, oh, you will come? All right. Okay, so please just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Fantastic. So I know some of you are wondering why you have your headphones on, right? And you realize we're also not shouting. We're going to have a very calm session, but very energetic. The reason being is that we have the sessions happening in the domes next to us. If we were using our speakers, the sound would seep through to the domes. So this one is a very interesting session because it's called a silent session. There will be no sound in the audience apart from what you hear from the panel. We'll hear it all in our speakers. It's kind of like a silent disco. The only thing is music is TVET, the TVET agenda in this case. All right. So I'll just briefly give a bit of context and then we'll jump into the panel discussion. We have just over an hour, so we'll try and make the most use of it. And this time, hopefully, we'll get to have the Q&A session. So in a time of worldwide skilled labor shortage, this particular conversation is supposed to discuss excellence within TVET and excellence in our TVET strategies. So the question being, do we want to have top-level people that then ripple or find a way to ripple excellence across the different organizations or different ecosystems? Or do we now want excellence to focus on the broad inclusion of many? So those are some of the questions we'll address here. We'd like to touch on the notion of excellence transgressing across different regions, across different demographics, across different borders. We'd like to also understand about education systems that are accessible and flexible for diverse people and pathways, like we've discussed in the opening session today. We'd like to also touch on international cooperation. We've been keen on that from the beginning, and the countries represented here are testament to that. International cooperation is needed. And of course, very crucial to this, we'll have young people give their voice as they discuss key topics with our panelists as well. So I'll give more of the context when we have our panelists sit on stage, but let's just quickly call them up. We have Daniel McCabe, the WorldSkills Champions Trust representative for Europe. Please join us on stage, Daniel. Yousra Assali, the WorldSkills Champions Trust representative for MENA, from Morocco. Fantastic. Melkon, Hovahanissyan, the WorldSkills Champions Trust rep for Asia, from Armenia. Thank you very much. Dr. CHOI Yuk-lin, Secretary for Education, HKSAR. Felix Mutati, the Minister for Technology and Science from the Republic of Zambia. Honorable Minister, thank you very much. Please join us on stage. Xiaoyan Liang, the Lead Education Specialist and Focal Person for Skills and TVET at the World Bank. And Pierre-André Imbert, who's the Ambassador of France to Australia and President Representative for WorldSkills Lyon 2024 from the time of bidding until the end of 2023. And of course, we have Peter Thiel, who's the Deputy Director VET Policy, Federal Ministry of Education for Germany, and the Federal Ministry of Education for Germany. Thank you very much. So, this is, isn't this such an interesting concept where you really can't hear anything? All right. So, for many of us, while we were, wherever pathway people took to education, excellence had its own standard or benchmark. You're told you're excellent because you achieved X, right? So we have common and shared standards within the world of TVET, WorldSkills, TVET, other benchmark systems, and we'd like to now fully understand what excellence looks like. We have different countries, Germany with a legislation on new pathways, Switzerland combining TVET with academic pathways, ILO, but we now need to reach an international agreement on setting common standards for TVET, if that. So we'll discuss here the necessity of that and what we think should be the way forward, right? So we'll start off with one key question, and everyone, as we said in the different panel, we'd like you to just kick us off with one sentence. What is the key for excellence in TVET for you? Just one sentence. Let's start off here, we'll wrap up there.
For me,
Yeah.
it has to be the collaboration between industry and education, and the way that education is able to adapt to the changing industries as well.
All
in
right.
each sector.
Pretty clear? Let's go.
Is having access to quality education regardless of your regions and when you live, and equitable opportunities and access to learning regardless of your gender, and being able to pursue your careers without confronting outdated societal expectation.
So inclusive, excellence, same. They go well, all right?
So the key of excellence in TVET is the ability to quickly adopt to modern tools for both making education more efficient and provisioning skills that are directly needed for future markets.
There we go.
For Hong Kong, to answer this question, I would say we believe that industry collaboration and recognition are indispensable for success in TVET.
Fantastic.
For me, excellence is the gap between competence and excellence is filled by competition, by creating a competitive environment where the boys and girls compete for excellence.
Healthy competition.
Health competition.
Okay, all right.
Yes, for me, and I think excellent TVET system, we have to look at from the outcome and perspective, and we are talking about systems that need to be responsive to employers, but also to the students and to the large economy to serve the national development needs.
Right, sounds good.
Thank you. Thank you. For me, the key for excellence is, of course, at a global level to meet the expectation of the labor market. But moreover, at the individual level, you need to make the students proud of the trade and skills. That means self-accomplishment and motivation.
All right, there we go.
Okay, for Germany, 4 things: state-of-the-art infrastructure and training, innovation in the system, meaning bringing the system to a comparable level to higher education, and at the same time, inclusion, giving the disadvantaged group the opportunity to join the system, and finally, internationalization, opening up vocational training for international cooperation on individual and political level.
All right, so we can kind of see where your minds are, and we're almost on the exact same page, right? So we'll unpack it. Dr. CHOI, let's start off with you. You personally have a background in teaching and training. So we're super keen on the role of teachers, especially in the implementation of Hong Kong's TVET strategy. We'd like to talk about that because I know it will then touch on what Hong Kong is doing towards excellence in the same.
I think as a teacher, I think teachers in schools are great influence on students' career and life planning. So teachers are not only educators, but also mentors who guide students.
Can we move it closer?
Yeah. And guide students in developing the skills necessary for the workforce. As students guide, I think teachers play a crucial role in mentoring students, providing career guidance and supporting their personal and professional growth. Teachers should acquire knowledge on the different options and opportunities available for students and offer professional advice in a fair manner with reference to the different students' distinct characters and capabilities. And also as a facilitator, I think teachers should be able to leverage the different resources and establish collaboration with other stakeholders, so such as industry partners to enable students to explore and realize their potentials and aspirations.
Okay, so are you happier now, or were you happier as a teacher? Have you made progress?
I think I have a different role to play at the moment because at the recent moment I have to taking care of the policy level, not just at the classroom teaching level or as a guide or facilitator or fellows of my students, but I have to taking care of the territory-wide policy and from the foundation education to the tertiary education level. So we provide different pathways for our students, which enable them to pursue their excellence.
All right. Hopefully, we'll get to touch on international cooperation and what Hong Kong is doing with other countries. Honorable Minister, let's come to you, because Zambia is the host country of WorldSkills Africa 2025, and we've heard from the previous session on some of the gaps that are here in France. Just help us understand, because I know even when you were hearing that session, you were kind of saying, okay, we have different demographics, different geopolitics, but tell us about the role of the competition within the Zambian TVET strategy.
Thank you very much. In the last session, I was learning quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I thought I should share the roadmap to hosting the competition 2025. Now, what are the building blocks that Zambia is focusing on? The first building block is political will. So we have put in place a policy that addresses access to TVET. This policy means government provides funding to ensure equity and inclusiveness. And this policy was promulgated in 2021. In consequence, we have increased the entry to TVET by 300%.
Okay.
That was important. First building block. The second building block was the issue of reform, looking at the legal and enabling environment. So we are revising the TVET Act. The TVET Act, the revision will include the introduction of polytechnics. The revision will include the issues of addressing apprenticeship, attachments, including collaboration. So that is the reform. The third thing that we're doing is your funding mechanism. Government working with the private sector, pulling the resource to address the infrastructure component in TVET, to address the tools and equipment that are required in order to drive TVET. And the fourth building block is the whole issue of curriculum development. We are saying TVET delivers education. The private sector constructs the curriculum. And the fifth building block is the whole issue of mindset, particularly for the boys and girls, that a skill should not be a second choice. A skill is not a second choice for the boys and girls, because you can't go to university and therefore the fallback is your skills. That mindset as something to do. And that's why we're saying we also are going to introduce a degree program so that you have the option to come out with a degree.
Okay.
So the mindset is that you are not a second-class citizen. You have got the ability to deliver excellence in the things that you do. Be proud and walk tall, because it is a skill that delivers transformation in any nation. And that is our attitude.
All right.
Thank you.
I can already tell what your opening statement at the WorldSkills Africa 2025 will be. Peter, let's come to you. So in Germany, a new legislation as part of the German Excellence Initiative vocational training will entitle a lot of people without formal vocational qualifications to have their skills assessed and certified, right, against the standards of a dual vocational training occupation. Just tell us a bit more about that initiative, how it came about, why it was launched, and the kind of tough bits behind the scenes that a lot of people are not privy to.
Yeah, let me first say that Germany has a system with high reputation in vocational training, but also many problems in the meantime.
Okay.
And so only if you change, you don't fall back. And that is the idea of the Excellence Initiative that we do in Germany. And one part is it's on individualization to help individuals. It's on innovation, also comparability to higher education, and it's on internationalization. As concerns the validation system that we newly developed, and that gives you now in Germany an individual right as an individual to do the validation. We had this problem that more than about 3 million young people below 35 are good workers, are competent, but have no qualification at all. They went not through the education systems. And to give them a possibility to get that validated, to have career perspectives on the labor market, but as well to get a new status in education. That is the idea of the new law. And we started that bottom up together with the chambers, with the stakeholders to develop it. And now it's the time, 1st of August this year, to open it up to the public as an individual law. And that means that as an individual, if you have a competence of 70% of the referring occupation, you don't have to do the examination, but you have to do some pre-tests, you have to show some exercises or whatsoever. You get a certificate that allows you to say, either I'm partly equivalent to the full qualification or fully. And when you receive this certificate, which is a chamber certificate with a high value on the labor market, you have at the same time the right to go in the education system further. So you can do continuing training courses, formally courses, up to the EQF level 7, 8, master professional, bachelor professional. We have this kind of qualifications, and you get also the funding from the government for all 3 levels. So it's on education and on labor market, a real new possibility and a new career perspective also for the target group.
All right. So before we go to anyone else, let's just stick with you, Peter, and Dr. CHOI. First of all, on the same point, are you planning on, you mentioned the international bit, but how does the international arm of that excellence initiative look like? And then maybe Dr. CHOI, you could just jump in with now what the importance of international cooperation and such a system would be for the agenda. Please, Peter.
Also in the field of internationalization, the German system was not so good. We were quite good, but not so good. And we really developed a strategy to say we have to double mobility. We did that in the last 5 years. We have to get young people also to other world areas like Mexico, South Africa, trainees, to do their training there for up to 7 weeks. So we have about 40,000 every year now that go abroad. Despite of that, we are working very much on European cooperation to work on common standards. But now the next step, and we are very happy to cooperate with WorldSkills to be here, and with the interagency group of the UN system to work on a World WET agenda, meaning we have the same challenges all over the world. We have the same problems. We have the same technological developments. Wouldn't it not be possible to find the biggest common denominator? We talked about OECD PISA this morning. There is a common standard developed for the testing of the competence of young people all over the world. We have the WorldSkills standards. They are everywhere the same, and everyone can apply from Jamaica to South Africa. So we have European standards like the credit point systems or the European qualification framework. We have the ILO recommendation on apprentices worldwide. What are the minimum requirements? So there's a lot of treasure that we already have, but we want to develop that further. And we think also that WorldSkills could play a major role in that, because this 2 years conference that we have here, where many policy players come, where we cover 80% of world population, would be a right platform also for a kind of WET Davos every 2 years to talk about the World WET agenda with a rolling thematic.
Right, Dr. Choi?
Yeah, I think international cooperation is very important to enhance the quality and relevance of the VPAT, vocational and professional education training in Hong Kong, because we can share the best practices and benchmark against the global standards and cultivate a diverse learning environment. For example, we have a very big delegates from Hong Kong, our students joining the WorldSkills competition, which can and broaden their horizons and showcase their learning outcomes. And also, recently we have developed our first University of Applied Science in Hong Kong, and which also the government support the universities to form an University of Applied Science Alliance, and we encourage to have more international or global collaborations so that we can learn from the best practices from the rest of the world. And also when we are developing the qualification framework or have some qualification recognition, I think we can have the global arena for our students to show their talents.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you for that. Pierre-André, you're a little luckier because the Honorable Ministers spoke right before and they kind of set the stage for what's happening in France. But maybe you could just expound a bit more on the current skills strategies within France and how now the recognition of international education qualification works. We're still not 100% there yet. Help us understand.
Yeah, thank you. And I will start by saying that in 2017, we decided to have a complete overhaul of our technical and vocational education training. Inspired by all the experience of our neighbors, but not only on our neighbors, of different countries all over the world. We studied a lot, and then we have deployed a consistent strategy all along these years. This is very key to understand from where we were to where we want to be. The second point is the fact that it's a complete overhaul. That means we address the different categories of leverage to improve our TVET system. First of all, it was for us to reinvest in the skills of our young, unemployed, low-skilled workers. 1 million were trained. It's a huge investment. We put 15 billion euros to all our plan in 5 years. The second point was to have an overhaul of our apprenticeship scheme by reforming the financing, by streamlining all the procedures, by a better discussion with all our companies, unions, and to work very closely to all employers and employees unions. And then we achieved that we more than doubled the number of apprentices in France. And so it's changed the view the people have towards apprenticeship. Because when we have so many different people going to apprenticeship, and then they become managers, and they like to hire others, and you change the way people see the training. It's key. Now we have roughly 800,000 people in this apprenticeship. But we have also, because it's a kind of different dual system, but it's a dual system in vocational training in France, we have the vocational high school, where there is roughly 600,000 students. And in this, there are less on-the-job training, so they have to work at school. And we have a complete role starting by helping the young student to choose their own way and path. And because a lot of the dropout that we experienced was based on the fact that the young students did not choose what they want to do. They were ordered to go, let's go to this vocational high school. It doesn't work. And so first it's to have these guidelines, this guidance for their career. Then we have to reshuffle our training to be in line with the expectation of the labor markets. That means a closer cooperation with the companies. And at the end, we need to help the students to enter the labor market. This is not only the skills or the diploma you have, it's to accompany them, because it's another world. Even if you have the experience, you have to help them. And the impact on the employment rate is tremendous when you accompany. And this kind of investment to help these young people to discover and at the end to get used to the requirements of a company is very powerful. The, I would say, third pillar is to be able not to rely on the initial training, but to have a lifelong scheme of training all along your life. Mm-hmm. It's very important. That's why, and we were inspired by, if I correctly say, experience like in Singapore and so on, just to create what we call a personal training account that you have on your, like we would say, training bank account, euros each year, and you are on your own able to decide what you want to be. Not only to rely on the choice of your employers, both. And so make people responsible and actor of their own destiny and in acquiring skills. Of course, you have to help them to do this because they need to have the competencies, and so to give the possibility to be helped and to be supported. But at the end, with this and the other tools, which is the recognitions of the acquired experience, that means even if you don't have any diploma, and you can recognize what you have learned in terms of qualification and very well known by all the employers. Because in a world where the skills are really changing at a pace that is amazing, you need to help people to be able to change their skills. And so you do it by itself. I think these three pillars were very powerful and give a complete new approach, which is still in progress, but it's key. The other step is, of course, like my neighbor Chol explained very clearly about the international standards, and moreover, the mobility. Mobility is key. It's not so easy, even in Europe, and we try a lot to have like a Erasmus, like we have for all the students, but to have the vocational training. We need our young students in VET to be able to meet other colleagues. And I would say just in a final word that for us, hosting WorldSkills was part of our strategy from the beginning. And just when we started this overall of our training system, we absolutely wanted to have WorldSkills, because WorldSkills was a leverage to, I would say, to make this strategy very visible for all of us. Yeah. And I wish all the new hosting competitors to have the pleasure to have all the students coming here and to be very proud of what they say. Yeah. It's key.
Thank you very much. Also for mentioning mobility, because I know, Honorable Mutati, you probably echo my same sentiments. When we were coming to France, all of us were like this, hoping that the visa passes. So when we talk about mobility and movement, let's think about that as well. If we're saying we have an international agenda and excellence in every TVET system around the world, mobility means moving out of your country without so much inhibition. So let's have that in mind as well. Xiaoyan, please let's come to you, right? So the World Bank has a lot of data, resource available. So you now supporting international cooperation almost feels like second nature, but it's easier said than done, right? Talk to us about how you've supported international cooperation in TVET and what it then means to support with creation of inclusive education systems.
Thank you very much. Maybe I would take us back a little bit about how we support countries. So as you know, we are the largest international development financing institution. So reducing and alleviating or eradicating poverty is part of our core mandate, or I would say part of our DNA. But we work very closely with countries, and as you know by now, evidence shows education, especially TVET, is a powerful instrument for inclusive development and for reduction of poverty. So from the World Bank, currently we have just in the field of skills, TVET, we have 230 projects all over the world with about $39 billion just in TVET. So this gives us a lot of expertise and in sort of compiling the data and knowledge on what makes excellent TVET systems. I did not have a chance to say in the opening statement, but I would say that in addition to all my colleagues said, what's excellent, I think we also have to assume TVET needs to build on a very strong foundation before it can be excellent. So that's number one. And number two is government has to have a system, a mechanism, incentives to incentivize private sector, industry to work closely with the government, with the providers, so that the courses content are aligned with the industry standards and with occupational standards. And of course, we need to also look into the governance and financing aspect. Here, the government has a lot of leverage. And a few colleagues tried to mention that public financing, right now as it is, the way it's channeled to the providers, they are not performance-based, they're not results-based. So we do a lot of supporting the government system in terms of say, hey, you can at least reorient, promote excellence by trying to change the way you finance our TVET by producing more results. So we do the strategy work, but we also directly get involved in the implementation with the projects and with various initiatives. So here you ask me about inclusive, right? At the strategy level, we have very specific gender and disability and also people from different vulnerable backgrounds, how these people will be included, how we can reduce the barriers to access and make sure that the quality of education is up to par for those people as well. And every project has a very clear results framework, including breakdowns by different social and groups and gender. So this is how we monitor in terms of inclusion. We promote international cooperation, specifically in TVET. It is very important to harmonize standards, qualification to make sure the labor is mobile. I just give you one example in Africa. Africa has 55 countries and with borders, and some of the countries are very small. They don't have enough economy of scale to make a lot of investment in TVET, for example. So we have projects that specifically targeting to create regional integrations, regional harmonized standards programs, so that students can move around between countries. We also support sandwich programs between the Global South, TVET institutions, with the Global North, or with the other Global South country. This is very important. Actually, it's becoming more and more powerful in terms of bridging the gap between the North and the South.
Luckily, we also have the regional blocks. I know Honorable Mutati is also part of some, the EAC, COMESA, SADC, you name it. So at least that makes it a lot easier if you don't have enough economies of scale within borders. So let's switch it now. We'll come to the audience for a few questions. Please make sure you write them down. We'll have roving microphones that you can take. But let's bring it now to the people on the panel with the best sneakers at the event, who also happen to be my co-moderators. Yousra, Melkon, and Dan will take a turn each to ask particular questions. Yousra will just start off with you. Please shoot.
Yeah. So please, like elsewhere, Middle East and North African countries have problems attracting talent into TVET, and young people options seems to be limited. So what can be done to make, on the policy level, to make TVET more attractive to young people, and why young people are not more included in the design and development of excellent strategies?
Perfect. Do you have anyone specific you'd like to ask that question, particularly on why young people are not included in the development of excellent strategies? Is there anyone specific? No? All right, so we'll hear from Honorable Mutati, maybe from a France perspective and World Bank? Yeah.
Thank you. From a Zambia perspective, we needed to deal with the first problem. And the first problem that we had for the young people was accessing TVET institutions. And that access was limited because of funding constraints.
Okay.
So the policy we took is that we are going to fund you 100%. And because we took that policy, we saw a 300% entry into TVET. And there's more knocking on the door. So first of all, deal with the things that really matter more. And then once they've entered the door, then you can begin to deal with issues of excellence. First, let them enter the door. And dealing with the issues of excellency from a Zambia perspective, we are dealing with how do our lecturers lift up their competences, their quality of delivery. So we have attachment programs within the regional countries, learning from each other, sharing experiences, including from cooperating partners, bringing us capacity building to improve the quality of the lecturers. Those things are now, after they have entered the door, you are lifting up now the quality.
Okay.
Then the next thing that you do is that how are you going to have a curriculum that is facing the private sector? So we have said we are going to collaborate with the private sector in the development of the curriculum. So the private sector are the majority in the committee that is addressing the curriculum development, so that the role of TVET is to deliver that curriculum. So that is the game plan that we've got in Zambia.
We'll go back with you. So I hope I'll hold you to that. Pierre-André, do you want to take a stab at it?
I try. Yeah, I think the first leverage is knowledge. Knowledge, because when you ask some young students, and very young, before they choose where they want to go in terms of schools or trade they want to study, because they only knew 8 to 10 different skills, trade, what they have to do. So you have to give them the knowledge of all the possibilities that you can have. Then put the spotlight on what you can expect when you feel finished and completed your curriculum. And because it's very important to say, yes, you can win this in terms of money, you can have this absolutely big career. Then you need some role model. You have to have people explaining how they're happy with their work. That's why WorldSkills is very important. And I think at the end, you have to guarantee them that in the future, they will have the abilities to change their way. It's not a one-way ticket in just one trade, but just the possibility to do also. Because at the end, this is the key for the motivation and safe accomplishment. And so we have to do this. It's very complicated because we have a lot of gender bias, for example. And it's key because sometimes we need some people, but if we would have more women in this sector, it would be fantastic. And in the care sector, if we will have more men, it will be fantastic to meet our targets. So this is key. See, it requires a lot of investments for all the people. And because if I would say all the leaders in a country are not united to deliver the same message, you can't accomplish this, really, this revolution. That's why we try to do.
A question, maybe to Yousra's point, the second question. Pierre-André, on your part, I'm guessing you have a team that helps with the development of excellent strategies or partners? You have a team?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Are there young people on that team?
Yes, absolutely. So the young people are key because that's why we try to redevelop, just to have this assessment of the needs that you need. So it's very important to, like every project, you need the stakeholders.
Okay.
You don't know I would say by chance you have all the vision. No, you don't have the vision. You have the strategy, of course, but how you are going to implement all the leverage you need, we rely also on the experience of the young people. For example, very little things that if you want to have the best training organization of the year, if you don't have transportation system for them to go here from there, it doesn't work. If they don't have money to be able to have a home just near the training center, it doesn't work. And so when you hear people who have their own experience, that's why you can change.
Okay, got you.
Yes.
So both of you wanted to say something?
Maybe very, very quickly.
Yeah.
I think young people, we have to recognize they have aspirations, right? And TVET honestly has been stigmatized for so long. And
You're right.
the TVET system absorbed basically the bottom quarter, bottom 25% of students coming out of basic education, or maybe even lower. It's important that we recognize or build in the system pathways, and whether it's horizontal pathway, so students can move back and forth between academic or TVET, but also very importantly, vertical pathways. There are more and more countries now devote themselves to elevating the level of training TVET, provision of tertiary TVET, applied bachelor degrees, or higher vocational degrees. These are very important mechanisms to make TVET attractive. But also I want to say that there is a huge information gap currently, that we are not doing enough to promote the outcomes, the excellence of TVET. I mean, we ought to do more in terms of sharing with the public that, yeah, we have TVET students getting good jobs, very high quality jobs, and they're not stuck. It's not a dead end. We are doing a lot more now globally, global graduate tracer studies, publication of, the blue book of employment, and so forth. I think this is a very important effort. We should keep going to promote, to make more attractive. Also, lastly, we do consult youth. When we develop a country partnership strategy or country assistance strategy for every country, youth is a very important stakeholder. And of course, it's government-led consultation, and we work through the governments. That's our default. But I think there's opportunity now for youth to be more involved.
Really love that intervention. Thank you. Yes.
I think in Hong Kong we engage young people from time to time through different platforms. For example, committees or forums to listen to their views on how we develop the VPAC pathway for them. And also, actually, we adopt a multi-pronged approach to promote the VPAC image. Because in Hong Kong, we don't call TVET, we call VPAC, which stands for Vocational and Professional Education Training. We emphasize very much professional aspect of the vocational training. And also, we try to emphasize the establishment of a quality and flexible VPAC articulation pathway, which in collaborate with the industry, as well as which recognized by the employers, parents, and also students, and make the VPAT valuable alternative pathway to the traditional academic route of pursue their studies. So I think we also have provide the applied learning courses at the secondary school level, so that we can attract more talent or let the students exposed to the different opportunities or exposed to the world of work. So that I think, yes, they are well prepared. And now we as the development of University of Applied Science, I think we further promote the image of the vocational and professional training at a high level.
All right, so you can absorb as well, to Xiaoyan's point. So, Peter, you wanted to say something, but Melkon, just prepare your question for after. Yeah,
just briefly, I think your question is definitely right, and the answer is there's a lot of room for improvement there. We have institutionalized participation of young people. We have federal speakers for vocational training students, and they are in meetings and can talk. But I think you asked more, how do we do that in the training process, in the regions and so on. And there's not so much going on, I have to say,
Yeah.
as concerns the participation of young people. But on the other hand, I also have to say there is no demand. And I think if you want to get something in that kind of system, you have to voice yourself and to find a kind of organization to do so. It's an invitation to do so. The chambers have a strong say in Germany. The lenders have the regions have a strong say, but the youth is not as organized. So it's a question also of your commitment to the subject and the organization of some demands towards policy.
All right. Yousra, Melkon, Dan, you've been challenged. You told you're not as organized, so hold on to that.
We're ready.
Melkon, please go. Please go with your question.
Okay, yeah, as you understood, like from my introduction, I'm all into using modern tools as a youth as well, but also from my profession, being a CTO and co-founder of an IT company, I see the gap of there are like plenty of people even with higher degrees, but they are not ready to work in their skills in production environments. So we see lots of tools coming around like each day, like the AI, especially the VR, augmented reality. So I would like to know what are your approaches of using them and making the excellence, enhancing the excellence with their tools, especially like in countries like Germany, China, Hong Kong.
Right, so Peter and Dr. Choi.
Okay, thank you for the question. I think AI and digital tools have immense potential to enhance excellence in VPAC by personalizing learning and improving accessibility. Skills and knowledge about digital tools and AI are indispensable for today's workplace. So I think it is very important that the students should be provided with the exposure to the latest technological advancements through education across all levels. In Hong Kong, I would like to share some Hong Kong experience in doing in the Hong Kong government, we recognize the importance of training the trainers. So we have provide targeted resources and support for our teachers in response to the rapid technology advancement. AI in primary and secondary school education level, we always provide the professional training development programs for our teachers in using AI and the digital tools, so that no matter they are in the VPAC pathway or traditional foundation education, they all can enhancing students' understanding by using AI and facilitating the curriculum planning. And other than that, we also recently we have supported new innovative measures at the vocational level, including support our vocational training council, which was a statutory and dedicated public body on vocational education, to establish a new institute, namely the Hong Kong Institute of Information Technology, Hong Kong IIT, which focuses on providing dedicated training on information technology, and not only for students, but also practitioners from IT-related industry. So that this is the approach in Hong Kong. We by injecting resources, teachers training, and also updating our curriculum to facilitate our teachers and students making good use of the AI and digital tools.
So we'd like to encourage all of you to have just 30 to 40 seconds so that we can pick at least 2 or 3 questions from the audience. So please, 30 to 40 seconds. Please, Peter, you want to go?
So to make it short, I would subscribe what Dr. Choi said. On top, I think we have to challenge, we are challenged and don't have a philosophy or a kind of strategy already on AI by new developments, because it's very difficult to cope in the system with that. One example is ChatGPT. This completely changes our training and education process, because you can even now pretend to do a complicated work, and in fact it's done by GTP. How to change the education system, one problem. The other one is how to get individuals adapted with AI. We have a lot of disadvantaged groups that can, even with AI, get better learning success, because they get electronic buddies that helps them to overcome obstacles by being advising them and things like that. And so there's a lot of experiments in Germany, a lot of programs on that. but not yet the solution of the education system. It's really evolutionary. It's not yet defined. But we work on programs on that. For example, one is Invite on the artificial intelligence and vocational continuing training. One example is the care sector. You get an electronic buddy that always checks where you stand with your qualification, what is new coming up in the scene, and how can you get, with qualification nuggets, the adaptation, an individualized training process, or a national education platform that is now overarching for education, vocational training, and higher education developed with 500 million at the moment, and also AI based. So, but not yet there, still work in progress.
I like that you've admitted that not yet there, work in progress, and also, the further you go across different continents, everyone has different financial constraints, fragile economies, so there's a lot to consider. Dan, you had a brilliant point on adaptive curriculum. Throw your last question before we get to the audience.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on a few things that had been said already, if that's okay. It won't be too long. Peter, you mentioned really well earlier about how, you can't facilitate development without a good debate, and you all expressed how you like to involve young people in decision making and these things, and I think that's really important and good, but I would challenge you to make sure that those people that you're bringing into the debate disagree with you. You're all very important people. You somewhat intimidating to these young people who are being invited into your world. Make sure they're comfortable and feel like they can actually pick fault at you without you making an offense. And as well as you've spoken here, your colleagues I've not met, make sure you're speaking in a way that is understandable and not over jargon, layman's terms, so that positive, you're not confusing the people that you're speaking to. A good quote I always heard was, a smart person can sound smart, but a genius person can sound simple. And I think when you apply this to your conversations with young people, that will be respected as well. Now, thank you. So, WorldSkills is somewhat of an echo chamber. I see a lot of WorldSkills people, friendly faces that I know well in the audience. And it's an echo chamber. It's a very big echo chamber. We've seen the size of the event. It's colossal.
Yeah.
But how do we make sure our voices escape that echo chamber? You guys all have a responsibility to go back to your communities, your companies, your constituencies, your countries, and make sure that you're taking the messaging that your people want. So one of mine is, obviously, TVET fuels economies. Reskilling is incredible. We heard Melkon talk about AI, and reskilling as a result of that is going to be vitally important. Yeah. And in order to reskill effectively, TVET needs to be put at the top of the global skills agenda. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Yeah. So my question to Dr. CHOI and Peter, we've already heard of the great work in Zambia being done to do this, but I want to know from you guys, we've heard a little bit about what you've done, what you're planning, directly and as clearly as we can, because we've got a big international audience and plenty of young people. What have you done and what are you going to do to put TVET at the top of the global skills agenda in your countries? And then if we have time, maybe some of the other panelists can talk more as well.
So 30 seconds. Thanks, Dan.
Yes, to be brief. And,
I think it's a very inspiring question, and recognizing TVET as the central and the sustainable development, I think it requires strategic actions and global advocacy. So there is a role to play for every one of us, not just a single jurisdiction. In order to put the TVET into the top of our agenda, I think we bring about a paradigm shift to make TVET a preferred choice. So I think at the government level, we will keep engaging with the young people to see how the policy and also the resources allocate fit to the development. And also, I believe that collective efforts can help and also the engagement of different stakeholders can help to promote this topic at the global level.
As I already mentioned, in our Excellence Initiative, we have one eye on internationalization, and the question of the global VET agenda is the big issue. And we do not only talk, we meet with the so-called interagency group right here on Thursday, on Friday, to talk about the work plan for that. We will have a meeting with the African Union next month on the African Skills Week together. One day will be committed to the World Wide Agenda. So what we look for is, as I said, the biggest common denominators, an action plan below, and the sharing of responsibilities. We have UNESCO UNIVOC in Germany as an UN institute dealing with vocational training, are in permanent contact on the work program. The same with ILO, OECD, and all the others. So all are here, all are sitting here, and we are committed all to this subject. So believe it's operational, and even there are some finances soon.
Point. Okay.
And as a very quick follow-up, very short sentence, what is the most, maybe this is your first time at a WorldSkills event, maybe it's not, maybe you've seen the competitors, what is a moment that has sparked you when you've seen a young person doing their trade that has inspired you to do your job better?
Probably you ask the right person, because I'm responsible for WorldSkills Germany financing and the German team, and so I'm committed to that WorldSkills family since more than 15 years. And I saw a lot of these meetings and a lot of these competitions, and I think for us, they are the ambassadors for vocational training. The young people that we will see over lunch and afterwards when we go to the competition.
Yeah. Xiaoyan, do you have any that kind of jumped at you? Yeah.
Maybe just quickly to add that I think it's right to put pressure on your governments, right? And of course, from the international organizations or any other overarching bodies, we can advocate.
The mic's off. Yeah. The mic's off when we're talking about young people.
This way.
Yeah.
I just want to say that it's really right to put pressure on your governments. Whether it's WorldSkills or World Bank, IAO, these are bodies you can leverage, but they are not going to solve the country level challenges. So I just want to really echo that point. I don't know in your country, but I feel in a way compared to students from the global south, global developing countries, you are already much more privileged than those. And when you talk about, you're talking about AI, talking about voice, but we have millions who don't even have access to very basic infrastructure or internet, or let alone AI, or let alone being in the stage. So I do hope you also utilize this platform you have to support young people but from the developing countries.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Honorable Miss? Yeah.
Thank you. One of the reasons I came personally to participate in this competition was to learn, to take the experience from Zambia, since we're hosting next year. And because we're hosting next year, it is an opportunity from a Zambia perspective to raise the profile of the country, the profile of TVET, and the investment in TVET. It's like hosting an Olympic. All government systems move in one direction in order to deliver excellency. And I think going back, I'll be a different person and I'll deliver a different message. But much more important, from an African context, we shall have young Africans congregating in Livingstone, learning and talking and sharing experience with each other. And there's no better transformation than talking to each other, sharing experience. So we want to invite you to come to Lusaka. But also here, I'm already engaging with partners to support the hosting of the skills.
Fantastic.
So there are dividends to have come here. So come to Zambia and watch how the show that we are put on. It is an opportunity for transformation of the whole TVET sector. We shall be able to say, this is what we have done, courtesy of WorldSkills International. Thank you.
I love that. And hopefully, even as you move towards the event, the efforts toward TVET go beyond the event. Hopefully. So yeah, let's make sure of that as well. Let's have 3 questions, please. We'll take one, if that works. So the gentleman there, and then you, and then yes, please. If we have the microphone, we need to be done in about 5 minutes. So please make it super punchy, yeah. Do you have your microphone? Just give me a. Let me just bring this real quick. Sorry to the technical team. Here you go.
Thank you very much. This is a question to our 3 ambassadors. What do you think is needed to raise the bar?
I think it's quite easy, actually. You can just go and look in that room and see who's already doing it. And I think we need to speak with them and learn from them. If you want to raise the bar in any industry, you can, we're talking about TVET here in education, right? But you can pluck any of the 62 skill competitions out of there, or 69, something like that. And every single one of those competitors is raising the bar in their communities. Yeah. Most of them are winners or highly successful in their national competition. But underneath them is maybe 10s, 20s, maybe even hundreds of competitors who are all exceptional at what they do. Only one has been selected to compete. So there's a big wealth of alumni in each of our WorldSkills organizations that can be lent on to help inform education or even their own industries on how do we push ourselves more. Because when we compete with one another, that's when we're at our best, because we always, naturally, as humans, want the gold medal.
Yeah, I think also connecting with each other, also it's the responsibility, I think, for each of us to connect, to share our experiences with even broader audience. So that's also, we will be also every one of us will be able to raise the bar by that.
All right, sounds good. Do you have anything to say, or we pick another?
No, actually, it's all they already answered, but just give the youth more opportunities to speak up, actually. So we are not given the opportunities to show our abilities, to show our worlds, to say and to show the world what are we really capable of. So give us more of these opportunities.
Perfect. I can see you like that.
Thank you.
Where did the microphone go? Is that you? Who has it?
It is here. It's here with me. Thank you so much. I'm called Fiston Fikiri Chirimwami. I'm the DRC country manager from Assist International. So I have one question toward Ali. It is Liang from World Bank. Yeah, we are facing an issue of gender in TVET sector, whereby the biggest issue comes from the parent mindset. So the parent considers that TVET should be maybe a second choice. And secondly, the technical skills of TVET belongs to men. So it's the kind of technical skills shouldn't go to women. So women can't go for maybe mechanics, welding, electricity, and whatever. So I would like to know what is the World Bank planning to address that issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you for this question. You're right. TVET is very male-dominated, right? And whether it's students or whether it's teachers. And we do have an overarching gender policy within the World Bank, and we monitor every project, making sure that gender inclusion is included right at the design. But at the practical level, we support interventions both at the supply and demand side. It is true that because social cultural reasons, and there are many practices which are not helpful to the girl children, especially in Africa. Yeah. And we have to recognize that. But there are measures we can bring in our program as demonstration, as center of excellence. We talk about that, for example, for TVET, now we have projects that support safe schools so that girls don't feel threatened or they feel safe, and gender or girls' dormitories. And we also, in some of the Center of Excellence, on their own, they propose measures such as having a child care facility near the TVET institutions. So there are practically lots of innovations which are happening within Africa and globally in how to tackle this gender disparity for TVET. I think that's, again, here we should try to have a community of practice, learning from each other, how we can collectively address this gender issue.
All right. Thank you very much. He's been raising his hand for, yeah, all right.
Appreciate it, thank you. It's a question for Dr. CHOI, but also for Peter, Felix and Pierre as well. I'm interested in how we engage the private sector in train the trainer programs to ensure the knowledge and practice of educators stays up to date with industrial standards. And attached to that, I'm sort of interested in examples of dual professionalism. We have a challenge in the UK of teachers leaving the TVET sector to go and work in the private sector in pursuit of higher wages, but as a consequence, those institutions are less able to deliver on the needs of those same private sector companies. So I guess, how do we approach that challenge? Thanks.
Do you want to go?
Okay.
We'll make it pretty short. Yeah.
We are very grateful that in Hong Kong, the community are very supportive to the education sector, including the industry sector. For this time, we have different representatives from our industries that attend this delegation to the WorldSkills competition. They show their support to our students from time to time, and also providing funding support and also their presence to support our students. I think this is the culture of Hong Kong society, and the community are very supportive to our young people. And for the teachers, I think in Hong Kong, the teachers have enjoy a quite attractive salary, so we don't have this problem facing in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Okay, brief answer. In Germany, the system is different. It's already company-driven. So most trainers on the market are already in industry and are also trained by industry. There's a certificate to be achieved in order to become a trainer in the company, and it's hundreds of thousands that do the job already. So the kind of the disappearance of trainers is not happening there. But what we have is a part of the training system in schools, and there we have a demographic problem. The teachers get older. We have an attractivity problem. The teachers do not get that good salaries as in Hong Kong, I suppose, and there's something to do. We are working on that. There's a pact between the regions and the federal level to work on that, but again, work in progress. I couldn't provide the solution.
All right. I know we'll engage a bit more in over lunch, but is that a burning question? Is it burning? It's a comment. Okay. Please, quick comment. Kindly, if you could get the microphone here. Just quick comment. Here. And then we'll wrap up. It's very nice to see you again. Microphone has gone for lunch. All right, there we go. I think it's fine now. We can kind of hear it. No, we cannot. Do we want to? Okay. Everyone's very. Check one. Okay, here you go.
Thank you. Thank you. No, it's a quick one. No, one thing that I first appreciate the diversity that we see here.
Yeah.
And my point being from Africa, that I feel like we need to consider, much as we can learn from Germany, they have a long history of TVET. France, there are new emerging economies like Hong Kong, new coming. But in the case of Africa, one thing we need to put more pressure and more for support is really how do we make TVET by nature as a demand-driven.
Okay.
You see, much as we can put a lot of investment in teachers, in trainers, in everything, but how do we make TVET a homegrown solution? Let me put it this way. So for example, we are talking about AI. AI can do many things, but are those things fit into our needs or demand? And this is why I see TVET becoming so important. Let's make sure that as we design training programs, there are specific needs. There are way of contextualizing it so that it can actually help to address many of our challenges and issues. That's really my first point. The second, and I echo the minister here, much as he's actually, when I hear him speaking, and I had a chance to meet him a month ago, he's now becoming almost like a pastor of TVET. How do we make sure that he can transform his colleagues because himself he cannot do much. But if he's able to convince the Minister of Finance, who's signed the check, that investing in TVET will help the minister to raise more income as part of the tax, the income tax, that's what the role would actually be. Right. If he can convince the head of state, but among the competing needs the country have, because we're talking about TVET, but we're also talking about agriculture, we're talking about other things, but investing in TVET, we have multiple effects. I think that's really the kind of language as Africans we need to bring, and there's so much we can learn from others, but the question is always, how do we adapt in our own conditions, in our own challenges? So I feel that's really where the excellence will come from.
Brilliant.
So that's really the point I want to raise at this point. Thank
Really,
you.
really love that. That's one of the best. A burning. Okay. She has a burning question. So can we take that burning? Yeah? There can be 3 burning. Yeah, please, we'll talk during the lunch period, kindly. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, I'm audible. So I'm Mona, and I'm heading a council for skill development, which is called the Home Care Management Skill Development Council from India.
Okay.
My question is for TVET in the informal sector. When we are addressing TVET for the informal sector, there's hardly any industry. How do we contour TVET education for a sector which is informal? Do we not create more entrepreneurship rather than employment there? I would like to have some opinion from the panel on this.
Is there anyone who can take that as the final bit?
Should I repeat?
Peter.
How do we address TVET in the informal sector?
Addressing TVET in the informal sector.
Industry.
Yeah.
How do we
please
create
try as
employment and jobs.
Yeah, it is
do we focus on entrepreneurship is my question.
All right. Thank you very much for the question.
It's a huge challenge in India. I was just in India actually 2 weeks ago. I know more than 80% of the labor force are still engaged in informal sector and low quality jobs. So I think that gentleman saying when we say demand driven, it's not necessarily industry driven, right? It could be driven by local economies. Maybe it's agriculture. Maybe it's you need to improve the productivity of the agriculture or the small and medium enterprises. You have those clusters in India, even in Bihar or in the states where you largely call them labor supply states, but there ought to be local clusters of economic activities or livelihoods that need skills. I think that's what we need to center our effort of TVET on in those localities.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. Please, let's all kindly stand. We're not going to do the same exercise. Yeah. All right. Just look at the person next to you. Just tell them, sorry for eating 3 minutes into your lunchtime. Yeah. Just stretch a little. We'd like to give 2 rounds of applause. 1 to the panelists. And 2 to these phenomenal individuals here. Please. And then lastly, to yourselves for giving us your time. We know some of these conversations cannot be exhausted here, but let's please carry on. Over lunch, networking, we're here for 2 days. So please just keep the conversations going. Thank you very much. We have the curated competition visits. The meeting point is at 2 p.m. here in the male plenary. Yeah, so there'll be different groups guided by experts and former WorldSkills champions. So let's just reconvene. The program tomorrow will start at 9:30 in the plenary hall with a session on AI and education. Representatives from Autodesk, LinkedIn, Festo, Microsoft. So we have a lot to look forward to. Thank you very much, everyone.